Hey everybody, Clint here, and in this video, I'm going to share with you an example marketing automation that both can save you some time, but also build personalized messaging for prospective families that are coming into your funnel. Now, before we do that, let's talk about why we need automation and what type of automation is best, because when you say the word automation, it can mean different things to different people, and I think to a degree, we all know some automation that's available to us. You're probably using it on a regular basis, email confirmation messages, things like that. We're going to get kind of beyond the standard automation, and hopefully by the time you're done this video, you'll see kind of what's possible in the world of automation these days, and actually how personalized we can get, so that you're building relationships and engagement with your prospective families. um, Now, by the way, if you want to take a deeper dive into implementing automation at your school, below this video, you can actually register for one of my upcoming webinars on all about marketing automation. Going to take a much deeper dive than we're going to be doing in this video. And again, depending upon when you're watching this, the webinar might be over. We'll provide a link to the recording. So now let's talk about the state of enrollment management. Like enrollment management, admissions processes, it continues to evolve. And one of the big ways that it's evolving, or really one of the big obstacles that schools really need to overcome, is just how digital savvy families are now, right? And even the students, right? The middle school students, the high school students, because we know how much influence students also have in choosing a school. So, families and students are extremely proficient at filtering out unwanted messaging. But on the flip side, while they're really great at filtering out unwanted messaging, craving communication that is really tailored to their interests, right? So families today, they're educated, they're empowered, they hold more influence than ever before in the admissions journey, and they know it. And again, this is partly because they're also giving themselves more options than previous generations, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen here in a second, and because I want to share with you some data. Some of you may have seen this. I use this. I think there's a lot of great data from that niche.com parent survey data. And bear with me one second. I'm going to share my screen. All right, so you should be seeing this graph here right in front of you. And what this is showing is the number of schools parents are considering, right? So when they're applying to your school or inquiring, how many other schools are they inquiring or applying to? And what you can see here is what I've highlighted is that 64% of parents are considering at least three or more schools, and 23% are considering five or more schools, right? So some really good data there, and I'll stop sharing my screen. But again, go to niche.com. You can just search for the parent survey data, and this will come right up. Some really good information here. But again, it just shows that parents and families, they're evaluating more schools than ever before. And so it's going to be your job is like, how do you keep them engaged, right? And I know that one of the questions I've been getting a ton, right, is like, how do we find new ways to reach families and communicate with families all the way from that initial inquiry process all the way through the acceptance and enrollment process? How do you reach families in a hyper targeted, relevant, and personalized way? Because I can guarantee you that if you're doing that, there's so many schools that aren't, that you are really going to be standing above the rest when it comes when they're thinking back, like, hey, who really got us? Who was talking with us, connecting with us? Who's providing us with the experience that we're looking for? And doing what we're going to be talking about today and utilizing some automation to do that can really help you in that endeavor. So the other thing I also want to mention is, how do we do all this, right? How do we do this personalized messaging also without putting additional workload on you, right? I know many of you are watching this are part of 1-2 person teams, right? So how do we communicate with families all the way through the process? How do we get that as personalized as possible without it being a burden, without having to put on another hat? So again, the way that we can do that, marketing automation, right? Let me define, in my opinion, what marketing automation really is. And I look at it as a mechanism through which we can send relevant, personalized messages. Primarily, it's going to be through email. You can maybe use some text, but primarily through email, that are time-based or behavior triggered. So automation that is time-based, behavior triggered, but also relevant and personalized, right? So again, when we think about automation, you might be thinking about, oh, when somebody inquires, yes, they get a confirmation email. Yes, that's automation. We all kind of expect that. That's a very transactional automation, and we need that automation for sure. But how do we go beyond that? All right, so for today's purposes, let me just give you one example. And like I said, if you want more, we're going to go through a lot more examples. You can check out the webinar below this video, the link to the webinar below this video. So let me give you an example of how you can deliver this sort of personalized messaging in an automated way. In the example that I'm going to share with you, let's say you're a boarding school and you're going to be scheduling tours. So that's the automation that we want to build. Somebody is scheduling a tour, even if you're not a boarding school, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to use it as an example. We can talk about how to apply this to your own school, whether you have a high school or you're no high school or no high school, or day school versus boarding school, or it doesn't matter. I want to show you what's possible. So why don't I go ahead and share my screen again? Here we go. Okay. So now what you're looking at, this is actually the inside of Ames, the software platform. And what I've done is I've set up an automation. So if you're using something like an ActiveCampaign, a HubSpot, or some of these other email automation platforms, this may look familiar with you, familiar to you. If you're not using one of those, I would highly consider using one. Obviously, we have that built in to the Ames platform. And I'm going to walk through how I would set this up. And actually, we've pre-built this. Anybody that's using the Ames platform, right? This is pre-built for you, so you don't have to worry about all the tech setup. But more importantly, let's talk through what we're trying to accomplish here. So let's say your campaign or your goal is to get folks to register for a campus tour. So we're going to set up our trigger, and that's going to be they filled out our campus visit sign-up form. We need to notify admissions, or whoever needs to be notified gets notified. And obviously we want our automated thank you confirmation message. Thanks so much for scheduling a tour. Here's what's going to happen next, right? Many times when I've talked with schools or worked with schools, it tends to end there. And maybe you do some manual outreach leading up to the event, but many times it ends right here. Let's continue taking this a few steps further. And what we can do inside this platform, right, is we can set the event start time. So when did they schedule the tour? We could automatically populate that in there so that this automation knows when the tour is happening, and we can time the messages appropriately based upon what they've scheduled. So let's set the start date and time based upon what they've chosen. And maybe we want to send another message. I would even say you can wait 10 minutes, a 10-minute delay. And let's send them another message beyond the standard confirmation email. Now, in this case, this is going to be unique maybe to a boarding school, or if you're attracting families from a larger distance. So let's say I have a boarding school here in the Philadelphia area. We're in Philadelphia. Does the family live in Philadelphia? So really what I know is, are they maybe coming from a distance or not? And I can decide on what that distance is. Let's just use this for example purposes. Do they live in Philadelphia, yes or no? If they do, let's send them a nice, friendly email that provides directions to campus. Hey, here's how you get to campus. Here's where you park. Here's what you should be looking for, right? Anything that's just going to help them, just full transparency, what to expect. Let's say they're not from the area. So we can put this in there. Hey, if they've indicated they're not from the area, let's send them those same directions. But maybe let's talk about, hey, local accommodations, how to make the best of your day. Here's some great places to go eat. Here's some other things to do, sightseeing throughout the day. Because if they're traveling maybe an hour or more, they might not just want to come to campus and then leave. Maybe they're going to spend some time and check out the area. So that could just be a really nice, helpful way where it's like, if I know that they're not coming from the area, let's give them some really helpful information about what to do before and after their visit. And then let's set up a few more automations. And now these are going to be pretty standard leading up to the event. Let's wait a day, how to make the most of your day. So that could be expanding upon what you previously had indicated, in the previous email. Then leading up to, once it hits 24 hours before the event, let's send out an email from admissions and maybe the student ambassador as well, who maybe there's a student ambassador helping out with the tour. And if they are, have a message from them. Hey, I'm Clint. I'm a junior here at Ames Academy. So excited to meet you. I remember when I was with my family taking a similar tour, and I'm looking forward to sharing with you all the great things about Ames Academy, why I love it, why other students love it, and really looking forward to meeting you. See you in a couple days, or see you in a day, right? So a nice message leading up to the event that again you can time, and then let's say 2 hours before, friendly reminder. Here's where here's where to park. Go to this table. Go to this door. Whatever it might be. And then let's also integrate. What about a text reminder? Now you could integrate that prior as well, but a good friendly text reminder a couple hours prior, because texts get open about 98% of the time. So let's integrate a text, and texts have proven to not only get open, but they increase show up rates. Now you could have integrated text at any point through this process, but maybe that's your final reminder before the event. All right, so you can start to see how you're personalizing some messaging in here. And let's take this, like I said, let's take this in another direction. Let's say you're not a boarding school. It doesn't really make sense for somebody that's coming out of town. What if we just change this and it's based upon academics or athletics, right? I was a baseball player, right? So let's say I'm coming on a tour. I indicate that I'm interested in baseball. Maybe that's on your form. Hey, what are you really interested in? I'm interested in baseball. I'm interested in STEM, whatever it might be. You could build an automation off of that. Maybe you have a message here from the baseball coach for anybody that's interested in baseball, or a message from the football coach, anybody that's interested in football, right? So there's a lot of things that you can do there just based upon how you're setting up those initial forms and the data that you're collecting from prospective families. Now, let's do one more thing here. Let me go back to workflows. So that's leading up to the event. Let's ignore that. What about if they don't show up? So let's click in here. We have a no-show nurture sequence. So let me zoom in a little bit. If you have a family that they didn't show up, you can automate once you've indicated that they didn't show up. And there's some ways to do that in an automated way, or you just manually go in and be like, Clint and his family didn't show up. You just put the status to no show, and then it can send out a message. Hey, so sorry we missed you. If you'd like to reschedule, here's a link to the calendar. The calendar is also built into the platform. To reschedule, you can send them a text message, add an email, and set up that sequence as well. So this is how you can automate and personalize your messaging. So obviously one of the key things that we need to get in order to do some of the messaging is to ask the right questions in the form, so that we have triggers of what you want to automate, whether that's academic interests, athletic interests, extracurricular and general interest, or just a location where they're coming from. It could also just be as simple as grade level of interest, right? So that if somebody is scheduling a tour and they're indicating interest in kindergarten, they're going to get a different messaging sequence than somebody that's interested in high school, as an example, right? So just wanted to give you a sense of what's possible, kind of how I'm thinking about automation, and how you can start implementing automation into your processes. Once again, this was an example. We're going to dive into this much deeper and just go through more examples about how to start implementing automation in the webinar. Below the video, you can check out the webinar, whether it's live or recorded. Also, if you want to see how you can get the AIM system to do all this automation for you, because not only do you get the software, which is great, a lot of these campaigns are pre-built for you, so that you just have to put in some of your own school information, and we would actually help you get that set up as well. You're off and ready to go. Our goal is to get you kind of 90-95% of the way there, so that you can engage with families, automate it, not miss a step, not miss a communication opportunity through the entire admissions process, while also making it as hyper personalized as possible. So hope you found that helpful. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video. Take care, everybody.